A sitting president of the United States targeting a member of the independent judiciary for arrest is the kind of thing you expect to see in a failing autocracy, not in the oldest democracy in the world, but here we are, and the alarm bells are not just ringing, they are deafening. Welcome back to The Lead. I'm your host, Jake Tapper. Before we dive into this unprecedented and frankly terrifying collapse of institutional norms, I need you to hit that subscribe button, because in times like these, the facts are the only thing keeping us grounded, and you need to be here for every update. As this crisis unfolds, what we are witnessing right now is a direct assault on the rule of law that would have been unthinkable just a few short years ago, but is now the daily reality of the second Trump administration. We are tracking reports that the president, emboldened by what he views as a mandate and frustrated by a series of legal setbacks, is moving to silence a judge through the ultimate use of executive force and arrest. This comes at a moment when the shield of presidential immunity, which Mr. Trump has treated as an absolute sword, is facing its most significant challenge. Yet the collapse of certain immunity claims in the lower courts has seemingly triggered a scorched earth response from the White House. Let us be clear about what is happening here. The president is not just criticizing a ruling. He is not just appealing a decision. He is allegedly attempting to physically remove a judge from the bench via the power of the federal government because that judge had the audacity to suggest that the president is not a king to understand the gravity of this. We have to look at the specific judge being targeted and the case that has pushed the president to this edge. Our sources indicate that this move is a direct retaliation for a ruling that pierced the veil of absolute immunity regarding unofficial acts and private conduct during the 2020 election cycle for years. The Trump legal team has argued that every single thing a president does from the moment they take the oath until the moment they leave is an official act and therefore immune from any form of scrutiny, let alone prosecution. But the courts, or at least some of them, have finally said enough is enough, and that is where the danger begins. When a leader who believes he is above the law is told by the law that he is not. The history of this conflict is long and messy, going back to the first indictments and the landmark Supreme Court ruling that granted broad but not total immunity. That ruling left a door open for the prosecution of private acts. But Mr. Trump and his allies have spent the last several months trying to weld that door shut. Now that a judge has tried to walk through it, the response is to arrest the locksmith. This is not how the American system is supposed to work. The separation of powers is not a suggestion, it is the foundation of our republic, and when the executive branch uses its police power to intimidate the judicial branch, we are no longer talking about a policy disagreement. We are talking about a constitutional crisis of the highest order. Critics of the president say this is a clear attempt to obstruct justice and to send a chilling message to every other judge in the country. If you rule against me, you could be next. The White House, of course, frames this differently. They claim they are investigating judicial overreach and corruption, and that no one, not even a judge, is above the law. If they are violating the president's constitutional prerogatives, the irony of that statement is almost too much to bear. As we dig deeper into the details, we see a pattern of escalation that has led us to this precipice. The rhetoric from the president on social media has been building for weeks, targeting individual judges by name, questioning their loyalty to the country, and calling them enemies of the people. It is a playbook we have seen before, but the transition from words to the actual movement of federal law agents is a Rubicon that once crossed changes everything forever. Consider the implications for the future. If this move is successful, if a president can arrest a judge who rules against him, then the judiciary is no longer an independent branch of government. It is an arm of the presidency that is a system of government that the founders of this country fought a revolution to escape. We are also looking at the internal dissent within the Department of Justice. Reports are surfacing of high-level resignations and intense arguments behind closed doors as career officials grapple with orders that many believe are patently illegal. The tension in Washington is at a breaking point, and the rest of the world is watching with a mixture of shock and horror at the potential unraveling of American stability. This is a massive story with layers of legal maneuvering, political posturing, and historical resonance that we will be unpacking for hours. We have to ask ourselves what happens if the marshals actually show up at the courthouse. What happens if the judge refuses to go? What happens when the Supreme Court is forced to weigh in on whether a president can arrest a member of the bench? There are no easy answers here. Only questions that point toward a very dark path for the country. We are also hearing from legal scholars who suggest that this move might be a desperate attempt to create a distraction from other looming legal and political failures for Mr. Trump, a way to dominate the news cycle and rally his base against a common enemy, the deep state judiciary. But even if it is a political stunt, the damage to the institution is real and lasting. Every time a president attacks a judge, they weaken the public's trust in the fairness of the system, and when that trust is gone, the system cannot function. We have seen this movie before in other countries where the rule of law was traded for the rule of a single man, and it never ends. Well, for the people, the historical context here is vital. Because while we have seen presidents clash with judges before, we have never seen anything like this. Franklin Delano Roosevelt tried to pack the Supreme Court when they blocked his New Deal programs, and he was rightfully lambasted for it, but he didn't try to arrest them. Nixon railed against the judges who ordered him to turn over the Watergate tapes, but he ultimately complied with the law because he knew that the alternative was the end of the presidency itself. Mr. Trump, however, seems to operate under a different set of rules, or no rules at all. The collapse of the immunity defense in this specific case is a major blow because it opens up discovery into areas that the president has kept hidden for years. Financial records, private communications, and the testimony of former aides who are no longer willing to go to jail for him by moving to arrest the judge. The president is effectively trying to kill the messenger before the message can be delivered. It is a move of weakness, not of strength. Despite the bravado coming from the White House, we will be following every development in this story throughout the day and the coming weeks because the stakes could not be higher. The fate of our democracy is being decided right now in real time, not just in the halls of Congress or the courtrooms of the land, but in the very heart of our executive branch, as it decides whether it will respect the limits of its own power or tear the whole thing down in a fit of pique. If you care about the future of this country, if you care about the Constitution and the rights it guarantees to every citizen, then you cannot look away. This is the story of our time, and we are here to bring you the truth. No matter how uncomfortable it may be, stay with us as we continue our exhaustive coverage of Trump's move against the judiciary and the ongoing collapse of presidential immunity, because this is just the beginning of what promises to be a long and difficult struggle for the soul of America. Would you like me to write a follow-up script exploring the potential for a Supreme Court intervention in this case?